Enduro bikes have got brilliance, but can they do everything? Bikes are always going to be a compromise for something. It's never going to pedal as fast and efficiently as a cross-country bike, and it's never going to be as plush as a downhill bike. But is that true? Today I'm going to mess around with lots of setup and play around some different components to see if I can make this one bike really good for trail, enduro and downhill. Longer travel enduro bikes like this Bajo Rallon, which is 167mm of rear travel, have become a real dream to live with. They've always been the bike for thrashing down the hill where you have to pedal back to the top. But in the past, bikes like this used to be a bit of a drag. Now they feel efficient at getting back up the hill, way more svelte, and brilliant still at bombing back down the hill. And that got me thinking, my go-to bike used to be a 140 or 150mm trail bike that was really efficient, really fast on the more mellow trails of the British countryside. But also when I did take it to the bike parks, I kind of enjoyed the excitement of being a little bit underbiked. But now these bikes are so good, these have become my go-to bike. But don't get me wrong, it'll never be a cross-country bike on the more flatter trails that I ride. And it's never gonna be as sort of confidence inspiring as a downhill bike on the big jumps and the big, fast, rough downhill tracks. But how good could it be? Today I'm going to swap out some really critical parts to see just how good I can make this as a trail bike and a downhill bike, as well as being an enduro bike. Okay, so this is my Enduro Spec Bajo Rallon as I ride it day to day. This is a M-Team build. So the Rallon carbon fibre frame, it's got 167 rear travel, that Fox Float X shock, a 38 fork up front, 170mm as well. I cut my bars to 760. I'm running this bike mixed wheel size, so it does come with a link when you buy this bike, so you can swap it between 29 and mixed. I like my enduro bikes to be mixed, although I'm kind of, I don't mind either way, but I prefer them like this. And I'm running it with some FSA Gradient carbon wheels and some Vittoria Mazza Enduro tyres, the dual ply Enduro tyres.
Pick it up, pick it up, pick it up, pick it up. You see the drippy, I'm fitted up. Hop in my car and the giddy up. Secure the bag, yeah, I get the bus. Pick it up, pick it up, pick it up. You see the drippy, I'm fitted up. Hop in my car and the giddy up. Secure the bag, yeah, I get the bus. Pick it up, pick it up, pick it up, pick it up. I've been on the flex since flex on. Neighborhood all in your eardrums. I ain't never scared like Bone Crush. Boy, I got God, don't fear none. My line busy, take no calls. Feels like I don't have no flaws. Snakes in the grass, cut those off. Yo, squad shitty, my bros raw. No breaks, we go.
Right, so that's my enduro setup. Love it, I know how it feels. And now I'm going to swap out some pretty major parts to see how much difference it makes. So I'm going to go for some lightweight carbon cross-country wheels and tyres. So these are Vittoria Bajo cross-country trail tyres. So I'm not going full lightweight XC, but I think this will make a big difference to how fast the bike rolls, but also how light it is and how light it feels. And one of the major benefits of modern enduro bikes now, which has come a lot from racing and downhill racing as well, with the kind of changeable or tweakable geometry, I'm going to swap the linkage now and make this bike full 29er. So I'm going to go for obviously the cross-country lightweight wheels, full 29er, and see how much that changes this bike. Right, so with the FSA SLK carbon wheels and the Vittoria Bajo XC trail tyres, plus I've changed pedals as well for some Candy 3 kind of trail clippers pedals from Crank Brothers. I've saved 1.5 kilograms from the Enduro Spec, plus I've made it half a degree steeper on the head angle and seat tube angle by doing the flip chip on that linkage as well to suit the full 29er. So let's see how this rides. So trail spec felt really rapid actually. The kind of big noticeable difference is the kind of lack of rolling resistance, felt super fast in these tyres. So now to go to the other end of the spectrum and try and make this bike as good as I can to blast some downhill tracks. Okay, finally to the downhill spec Rallon. So I've changed the wheels and tyres and the pedals. So I've gone for the Spank wheels. So I've got a 350 Vibrocore front wheel, 359 rear. I'm back to the mixed wheel setups, 27.5 rear. I've also got the Enduro tyres, and I've actually got the race Enduro Mazda up front. So softer compound, slightly faster roll on the rear, more grip up front. And I've got the Crank Brothers Mallet DH pedals. You may notice I haven't put a triple clamp fork on this, because actually looking into it on the Orbea blue paper for the Rallon, it says this frame is not compatible with the triple clamp fork. Although you can check also on the sort of max fork length on this bike. So in theory, you could run a 180 travel boxer, because that isn't above the max fork length. It says it's not compatible with triple clamp. However, we did see Martin Mays, the Orbea Pro rider, doing some downhill World Cups on a bike that was very similar to the Rallon. Obviously not the stock bike, but he was running a triple clamp fork on that bike. So quite interesting. And there are many enduro bikes, we've seen this lots of times, maybe even where kind of downhill tracks aren't so gnarly. We've seen people using enduro bikes with triple clamp forks. So completely possible. You just have to check with the bike you've got. So the big difference now really is going from the trail setup to downhill is the wheels are now aluminium compared to carbon fibre, but I've also added about 2 kilograms of weight of a lot of that is rotating mass, so the tyres and the rims. But basically going from the sort of lightweight carbon, which is precise, stiff, you know, really kind of trail-like handling, of being really sort of precision and quick and nimble, actually going to aluminium, especially with these rims that have the Vibrocore sort of foam insert inside the rim, it's more about compliance, and obviously it's way more robust as well with these tyres. There's a lot more material, they're dual ply. So when it comes to racing or riding downhill, you do need that sort of dual ply tyre and a tougher, more compliant set of rims to smash through rocks, but also give you a bit more feel, so you're not getting chattering through stuff. So maybe you're losing somewhat in precision and nimbleness, but you're adding it in kind of rideability and reliability. Okay, so admittedly, I think 3 bikes in one is a bit of a stretch of the imagination. With this bike, where I haven't been able to put a triple clamp or change it a huge amount, but what I would say is with a bike, a modern enduro bike particularly, where you can really change the geometry with flip chips or with changing the links, it really can make a big difference to the characteristics of that bike. And even Orbea, if you're buying a new bike on their Mio system, you can get a lovely paint job that's completely custom, but also you can kind of pick the components on there as well, so you can spec the type of wheels and tyres and stems you want. And it's quite an extravagant thing. Like today I've run 3 different sets of wheels, and wheels are expensive, so that might not be realistic for a lot of people. But maybe you're a rider that lives somewhere quite flat most of the year, but you like hitting the bike park a bit, you know, a few times a year. So maybe it might make sense to you to have a harder hitting set of wheels as a kind of spare set, maybe even a cheaper set for those sort of bigger, gnarlier rides, but then your day-to-day is a fancier, lighter set of wheels. But I think at the bare minimum, for me, it just shows you how a set of tyres can completely transform the way a bike rides. So I think we're lucky nowadays to have bikes that are kind of quite easily tweakable, and actually by the user, you can get 2 or 3 kind of completely distinctively different riding bikes with just keeping the same frame. I guess the big thing I've learned from today is going from one end of the scale to the other, so from the lightest wheels and tyres and bike to the heaviest, and kind of it sort of reassures me that actually most of the time the middle setting for me is what makes sense. But it's also quite encouraging to show just how customizable bikes are, and actually, like I said, it makes a big difference. Let me know if you've tweaked your bike or if you run it stock. Jump in the comments down below and I'll try and answer your questions if you have any. And I think it's quite an interesting subject as well, so let us know how much you've customized your bike, if you've upgraded it, and maybe we can talk about it in Dirt Shed Show as well. Thumbs up if you love ragging bikes down hills.